My parents left me nothing in their will, not a dollar, not a memory, not even a goodbye in writing. For 15 years, I was the daughter who showed up. The one who paid the bills, fixed the roof, and held their hands through chemo. Then I found out that my sister got everything. The house, the cabin, the money I helped save. And you know what they said? You're independent, you'll be fine. So I stopped helping. I blocked their numbers, I let them fall. And what happened next, even I didn't see coming. My name is Posey Morgan, and for 32 years, I thought I knew what love was. I thought love was driving 400 miles in a blizzard because my mother said the boiler was acting up. I thought love was skipping my own vacation to paint my parents' garage. I thought love was handing over my credit card at the pharmacy counter when my father's prescription ran out and he forgot his wallet. I thought love was a one-way street and I was the only car on it. I was wrong. The day I found out the truth, I was sitting in a diner off Highway 9, eating cold fries and staring at a letter that had come in a cream-colored envelope. The return address was my parents' lawyer, a man named Mr. Archibald who wore bow ties and smelled like old wood. I hadn't ordered the letter. I hadn't asked for it. But there it was, lying on the sticky table like a bomb waiting to go off. My hands were shaking as I opened it, not because I was nervous, because I had just spent the last 6 hours helping my father move furniture after his back went out. My muscles were still screaming. My sister, Emma, had been invited too, of course. She lived 20 minutes away from our parents. She said she couldn't make it because she had a yoga class. So I drove 2 hours each way, lifted sofas and bookshelves, and listened to my dad complain about how nobody helps anymore. I didn't complain. I never complained. That was my job. I was the good daughter. The letter was a summary of my parents' trust. They had updated their will last spring. I knew this because I had driven them to the lawyer's office. Emma was on a wellness retreat in Arizona. So I sat in the waiting room for 3 hours, flipping through old magazines, while my parents signed papers behind a closed door. On the way home, my mom patted my hand and said, "Don't you worry, sweetheart. We took care of everything." I believed her. The letter said otherwise. I read it once, then again, then a third time because my brain refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. The house, the lake cabin, the stocks, the bonds. The savings account that I had helped them build by never asking for a dime, by paying for their groceries when they ran short, by fixing their roof myself because a contractor was too expensive. All of it, every single asset. The total value was just under $2 million, and it all went to Emma, not a penny to me. There was a small paragraph at the bottom, written in my mother's sweet, looping handwriting, a personal note attached to the legal document. It said, "Posey, you've always been so independent. You don't need the money like Emma does. She has 2 children and a husband who doesn't work. Please don't be upset. This is what's fair." Fair? The word hit me harder than any slap. Fair was me missing my own college graduation party because my mom had a migraine. Fair was me co-signing a loan for Emma's first car, which she never paid back. Fair was me sleeping on an air mattress for 3 months after I moved back home to help out, while Emma's old bedroom stayed exactly as she left it, with her cheerleading trophies dusted weekly. I folded the letter. I paid for my cold fries. I walked to my car, a 10-year-old sedan with a dent in the bumper from when I drove my dad to his chemo appointment and hit a curb because I was crying too hard to see. I sat in the driver's seat for a long time, and then I stopped. I stopped everything. That was 8 months ago, and what happened next is the story I need to tell, not because I'm proud of it, not because I'm ashamed of it, but because somewhere out there, there's another Posey. Another daughter or son who is breaking their back for people who see them as a safety net, not a child. If you're that person, keep listening, because the lesson I learned cost me my family, but it also saved my life. To understand why that letter destroyed me, you have to go back, way back, to the beginning of me and Emma. I was born first, by 14 months. Emma came along when I was just learning to walk, and from that moment on, I was the older sister, which in our house meant the invisible sister. My parents had wanted 2 girls. They got 2 girls. But somewhere along the way, they decided that one of them needed more protection. Emma was colicky as a baby. She cried all the time. My mom used to tell the story like it was a war wound. "We didn't sleep for 2 years," she would say, laughing. Emma just needed so much attention. And I would sit there, quiet, thinking about how I had learned to put myself to bed at 3 years old because both my parents were in Emma's room, rocking her, shushing her, singing to her. When we were 5 and 6, Emma got a new bike for her birthday. I got a second-hand helmet. When we were 8 and 9, Emma got dance lessons. I got to watch her recitals from the back row because my parents forgot to buy a ticket for me. When we were 12 and 13, Emma got a phone. I got told to share the house phone with my parents. The pattern never changed. It just got more expensive. I remember one Christmas in particular. I was 16. Emma was 15. I had saved up my babysitting money for months to buy my parents thoughtful gifts. A birdhouse for my mom because she loved watching cardinals. A rare fishing lure for my dad because he had talked about it all year. On Christmas morning, I watched Emma hand my mom a bottle of lotion from the drugstore and my dad a tie that was 3 sizes too wide. My parents smiled at her like she had given them diamonds. Then I handed over my gifts. My mom said, "Oh, a birdhouse, that's nice." She set it on the floor behind the tree. My dad looked at the fishing lure and said, "I don't even fish anymore, Posey, you know that." He had gone fishing twice that year, but I didn't argue. I never argued. Later that night, I found the birdhouse in the trash. The lure was in a drawer, never used. Emma's lotion was on my mom's nightstand. The tie was around my dad's neck at church the next morning. I didn't say anything. I just tried harder. That was my pattern. Every time they overlooked me, I pushed myself further. I got straight A's so they would be proud. I got a job at 15 so I wouldn't have to ask for allowance. I learned to cook so I could make dinner when my mom was too tired. I became the daughter who never needed anything, because needing things was Emma's job. And somewhere along the way, my parents started believing that I truly didn't need anything. Not money, not attention, not love. They looked at me and saw a self-cleaning oven. They looked at Emma and saw a delicate flower that would wither without constant care. So when the will was written, it made perfect sense to them. Emma needed the money, Posey would figure it out. The first week after the letter, I didn't tell anyone. I just stopped answering my phone as fast. My mom called on a Tuesday morning. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. "Posey, honey, your father's printer is jammed again. Can you come by after work?" I deleted the message. I didn't go. The second week my dad called, he never called. That's how I knew things were serious. "Posey, your mother's car is making a noise. Can you take it to the shop?" I said. "There's a mechanic on Main Street. His name is Gary, he's good." My dad was silent for a moment. Then he said, "But you always do it." I said, "Not anymore." And I hung up. That was the first time I felt a crack in my chest. Not guilt, something else. Something cold and sharp, like a piece of glass that had been buried for years, finally working its way to the surface. By the third week, Emma called. My sister, the golden one. The one with the perfect smile and the constant stories about how hard her life was. "Posey, what's going on? Mom says you're being weird." I could hear her kids screaming in the background. She didn't work. Her husband, Chad, sold vape products online from the basement. They lived in a house my parents had given them the down payment for. A house I had helped paint. I said, "I'm not being weird, I'm just busy." Emma laughed. "Busy doing what? You don't have kids, you don't have a husband. What could you possibly be busy with?" That laugh, that casual dismissal. It was the same laugh she'd given when I told her I couldn't afford to go to her destination wedding because I had just paid for our mom's dental surgery. She laughed then, too. She said, "Oh, Posey, you're so dramatic." Mom would have figured it out. I hung up on Emma, that was a first, and I didn't feel bad. I felt free. The fourth week, things got real. My mom showed up at my apartment. She hadn't visited me in 3 years. I lived in a small one-bedroom above a laundromat. The stairs creaked. The paint peeled. But I paid my own rent, and I had never asked them for a thing. She stood in my doorway with a grocery bag full of leftovers. That was her way. She never brought help. She brought leftovers. "I made too much lasagna," she said, pushing past me. She looked around my apartment with that little frown she always wore, the one that said, "This is fine for you, but Emma deserves better." I took the lasagna. I set it on the counter, and I waited. She sat on my second-hand couch and patted the cushion next to her. "Sit down, sweetheart. We need to talk about why you've been so distant." I didn't sit. I leaned against the wall and crossed my arms. "I'm not distant, I'm just not available." She tilted her head, confused. That was the thing about my mother. She genuinely didn't understand. In her mind, I was an extension of her. A hand, a foot, something that moved when she wanted it to move. Your father is very upset, she said. The garage still isn't cleaned out. The gutters need to be done before winter. And Emma is overwhelmed. She needs you to watch the kids next weekend so she and Chad can go to a marriage retreat. A marriage retreat. For the sister who got everything. While I stood in my peeling paint apartment, alone, with no retirement savings, no safety net, and a car that might not survive another winter, I said, "Mom, I know about the will." The change in her face was like watching a curtain fall. The sweetness didn't disappear. It hardened. She blinked twice. Then she said, "Who told you?" "Your lawyer sent me a summary. I guess he thought I should know." She stood up. Her hands were shaking, but not with guilt, with annoyance. "That was supposed to be private. We didn't want you to feel bad." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "You didn't want me to feel bad, so you hid it, while I kept driving you to appointments, kept paying for things, kept being your errand girl." My mom stepped closer. She was shorter than me, but somehow she always made me feel small. "Posey, you have to understand. Emma has children. She has a family. You're alone. You don't need the money." There it was. The truth, naked and ugly. I don't need the money. Not because I was rich. Because I had spent my whole life being told that my needs didn't matter, that my time didn't count, that my love was a utility, not a gift. I opened my front door. "Please leave." She didn't argue. She never argued. She just picked up her purse and walked out, leaving the lasagna on my counter. As she went down the stairs, she said over her shoulder, "When you're ready to apologize, we'll be home." Apologize? For what? For finding out the truth? For finally seeing the scoreboard? I closed the door. I locked it. And for the first time in my life, I didn't cry. The next few months were quiet. Too quiet. I blocked my parents' numbers. I blocked Emma's. I told my boss I needed more shifts, and I started working 60 hours a week at a medical billing office. I saved every dollar. I stopped buying coffee out. I stopped buying anything that wasn't essential. I had a goal, and the goal was simple. I was going to build a life that didn't depend on anyone. But families don't let you go quietly. Not when you're the one who holds everything together. By month 2, my dad started leaving voicemails that switched between angry and pitiful. "Posey, your mother is beside herself. You're breaking her heart." Then, the next day, the lawn mower broke. I tried to fix it myself and now my back is worse. "Is this what you wanted?" Then, a week later, "I'm sorry, we're sorry, just come over for dinner, please." I didn't respond. I couldn't, because I knew what would happen. I would go to dinner. I would sit at their table. My mom would serve my dad's favorite meal, and Emma would show up late with the kids, and everyone would act like nothing had happened. And then, as I was helping with dishes, my mom would say, "Since you're here, can you look at the leak under the sink?" And I would do it, because I always did it. Not this time. The breaking point came in month 3. I got a call from a neighbor, Mrs. Albright, who lived next door to my parents. "Posey, honey, your mom fell in the driveway. She's okay, but she's asking for you." My heart stopped. For one terrible second, the old Posey came roaring back. The one who would drop everything. The one who would drive through fire. I grabbed my keys, and then I stopped. I thought about the letter. I thought about the words, "You don't need the money." I thought about every Christmas where Emma got expensive jewelry and I got a gift card to a grocery store. I thought about the time I had pneumonia and my mom asked me to pick up her dry cleaning anyway because it's just a cough. I put the keys down. I called Emma. She answered on the second ring. "What?" "Mom fell. Mrs. Albright called me. You need to go check on her." Emma sighed. "I can't. I have a parent-teacher conference in an hour." "Then call Chad. Chad is working. Chad sells vape juice online. He can take an hour." Emma's voice turned sharp. "Why can't you do it? You're always so dramatic about helping. It's not that far." I closed my eyes. I could feel the old guilt trying to claw its way up my throat. But I swallowed it down. "Emma, I'm done. You live 20 minutes away. I live 2 hours away. You have the money, you have the house, you have everything, so you handle it." I hung up. Later that night, I found out that Emma did go. Not because she wanted to, because my dad called her and yelled, and my mom was fine, just a bruised knee, but the story spread through the family like wildfire. Posey abandoned mom when she fell. Posey has gone crazy. Posey is jealous of her sister. I let them talk. Words are just air, but the silence from my phone was something else. It was peace. Month 4. My dad's birthday. I didn't call. I didn't send a card. I didn't buy the expensive bottle of whiskey he liked, the one I had bought every year since I was 22. Instead, I worked a double shift. I came home, I ate a frozen dinner alone, and I felt nothing. That scared me, not the anger, the emptiness. I had spent so many years feeling too much for them that when I stopped, there was nothing left. Just a hollow space where my heart used to be. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Patel. She had kind eyes and a calm voice. I told her everything. The will, the years of helping, the moment I stopped. She listened without judgment. Then she said something I will never forget. Posey, you weren't helping them. You were proving your worth to them. And when you found out that no amount of help would ever make you worthy in their eyes, you collapsed. That's not revenge, that's grief. I cried in her office. Not pretty tears. Ugly, heaving sobs that came from a place I didn't know existed. I cried for the little girl who had tried so hard to be good. For the teenager who got straight A's while Emma got a new car. For the adult who had given and given until there was nothing left. Dr. Patel handed me a tissue. The question isn't whether you should help them. The question is, who are you when you're not helping? I didn't have an answer, but I wanted to find one. Month 5. Winter hit hard. I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of my parents' driveway, buried under 2 feet of snow. The message said, "Your dad tried to shovel. He fell. He's in the hospital with a cracked rib. This is on you." I didn't recognize the number. Probably one of my mom's church friends. I deleted the photo. But I couldn't delete the image from my mind. My dad, stubborn and proud, out in the cold with a shovel. He had never shoveled his own driveway. That was my job. I had done it every winter for 10 years. I called the hospital. Not to talk to him, just to make sure he was okay. The nurse said he was stable. A cracked rib, some bruising, he would be fine. I didn't visit. I didn't send flowers. I sent nothing. That night, Emma showed up at my apartment. Not my mom, Emma. She was crying. Real tears or what looked like real tears. "Posey, please, Dad is so upset. He keeps asking for you. You're killing him." I let her in. She looked around my small apartment with the same frown my mom always wore. She was wearing designer boots and a cashmere sweater. I was wearing sweatpants with a hole in the knee. I said, "Emma, do you know what's in the will?" She froze. Her crying stopped instantly. "What are you talking about?" "The will, Mom and Dad's will. Do you know what they left you?" She looked away. That was my answer. She knew. Of course she knew. They had probably told her the day they signed it. "It's not about the money," she whispered. "Then what is it about?" She sat on my couch. She looked small suddenly, not golden, just tired. "They think I need it more, and they're right, Posey. Chad doesn't make much. The kids are expensive. You have a good job, you're smart, you'll be fine." I sat across from her on a folding chair. "Emma, I have $12,000 in savings. That's it. I'm 32 years old. I have no retirement, no house, no family of my own. And I have spent the last 15 years giving everything I had to Mom and Dad. Every weekend, every holiday, every emergency. While you showed up for photos and left before the dishes were done." She didn't deny it. She couldn't. "So when you say I'll be fine," I continued, "what you really mean is that my life doesn't matter as much as yours, because I chose to be helpful instead of helpless. And somehow that made me less deserving." Emma started crying again, but this time I think they were real tears. "I didn't ask for this. You didn't stop it either." She left after that. She didn't say goodbye. She just walked out and I heard her expensive boots clattering down the stairs. I sat in the silence for a long time, and for the first time in months I didn't feel hollow. I felt angry, clean angry. The kind of anger that builds things instead of breaking them. Month 6. I made a decision. I wasn't going to punish my parents forever. That wasn't revenge. That was just more of the same story, with me playing the victim instead of the hero. Real revenge, I realized, wasn't about making them suffer. It was about making myself whole. I stopped working 60 hours a week. I used my savings to take a certification course in medical coding. I got a raise. Then I got a better job at a larger hospital. I started running in the mornings. I joined a book club. I planted herbs on my fire escape. Small things, tiny rebellions. Every one of them said the same thing: I am worth taking care of. I didn't call my parents, But I stopped blocking their numbers. I let the calls come. I let the voicemails pile up. I listened to them sometimes, just to remind myself why I left. My mom's voice got softer over time. My dad's got quieter. Emma stopped calling altogether. Month 7, the call I never expected. My mom, sobbing, not her usual controlled tears. Real, messy, broken sobbing. "Posey, your father has cancer again, it's back. And it's worse this time." I sat down on my floor. My legs gave out. Cancer. The same cancer I had driven him to treatments for 5 years ago, the same cancer I had held his hand through. The same cancer that had made me empty my savings to pay for a specialist. "What do the doctors say?" My voice was steady. I surprised myself. "They say he needs aggressive treatment. 6 months, maybe more." "Posey, I can't do this alone. Emma is no help. Chad left her. Did you know that? He took the kids and moved in with his mother. Emma is a mess. She can't even get out of bed." Chad left her. I didn't know that, but I wasn't surprised. Chad had always had one foot out the door. "Mom," I said, "I'm sorry about Dad, I truly am, but I can't." "Can't or won't?" I thought about Dr. Patel's question. "Who are you when you're not helping?" I knew the answer now. I was Posey, just Posey, not the fixer, not the errand girl, not the unpaid nurse. A person with her own life, her own dreams, her own limits. "Both," I said. "I can't and I won't. You have money, you have insurance. You have Emma, whether she's ready or not. Use the $2 million you saved for her. Hire a nurse. Hire a driver. Hire someone to shovel the driveway. You have the resources. You just don't want to use them because that would mean admitting that I was never your daughter. I was just your employee." My mom went silent. For a full 10 seconds, I thought she had hung up. Then she said, in a voice I had never heard before, small and old, "You were always my daughter. I just didn't know how to show it." "It's too late for that, Mom." "Is it?" I hung up. Not because I was angry, because I was sad. Deeply, bone-tired sad. The kind of sad that comes when you finally accept that the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally put conditions on everything. But here is where the story takes a turn you might not expect. Because I didn't stay away, not forever. Month 8, I got another letter from Mr. Archibald. My heart pounded as I opened it. I thought maybe they had changed the will. Maybe they had finally seen the truth. But no. The letter was a notice. My parents were selling the house. They were moving into a smaller place, a condo near Emma's town. The lake cabin was going up for sale too. The letter was formal, legal, emotionless. It said that as a beneficiary of the trust, I had the right to review the sale documents. Beneficiary? What a joke. I wasn't a beneficiary, I was a footnote. I called Mr. Archibald myself, not to fight, to ask one question. "Why did you send me that first letter? The summary of the will? You didn't have to. I wasn't a named beneficiary. Why did you send it?" The old man was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because your mother asked me to." My mother. The same woman who had hidden the will for a year. The same woman who had told me I didn't need the money. She asked her lawyer to send me the truth. "Why?" "She didn't tell me why," Mr. Archibald said. "But she called me 3 days before she sent that letter. She said, 'Arch, I need you to do something for me. Send Posey the summary. She deserves to know.' I asked her if she was sure. She said, 'I've never been less sure of anything in my life, but send it anyway.'" I hung up. And for the first time in 8 months, I drove to my parents' house. The drive took 2 hours. I didn't listen to music. I didn't call anyone. I just drove, watching the landscape change from city to suburbs to the familiar trees of my childhood. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The paint was peeling. The gutters were clogged. My dad's truck was in the driveway with a flat tire. I knocked on the door. My mom opened it. She looked old. Not the elegant, put-together woman I remembered. A tired, frightened woman with gray roots showing and circles under her eyes. She didn't say anything. She just stepped aside and let me in. My dad was in the living room in a recliner, wrapped in a blanket. He looked even worse. Thin, pale. The cancer was eating him from the inside. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. "Posey," he whispered. "You came." I sat on the couch across from him. My mom sat next to me, but not too close. There was a distance now that couldn't be closed with hugs or apologies. "I came because I have something to say," I told them, "and I need you to listen without interrupting." My dad nodded. My mom folded her hands in her lap. "I know about the will," I said. I know that you left everything to Emma. And I know you think it's fair because I'm independent and she's not. But here's what you don't understand. I wasn't independent. I was abandoned. Every time you asked me for help, every time I said yes, you taught me that my value was in what I could do for you, not in who I was. And when I found out that all that giving would never be matched with even a fraction of what you gave Emma, something broke in me. My mom started crying. Silent tears. My dad stared at the ceiling. I stopped helping because I had to, I continued. Not to punish you, to save myself. And these last 8 months, I learned something. I learned that I am not a bad daughter for choosing myself. I learned that love isn't supposed to be a transaction. And I learned that you two were never going to see me the way I needed to be seen. My dad spoke. His voice was cracked and weak. We love you, Posey. We always have. I know you think that, I said, but love isn't a feeling, it's a choice. And every day for 32 years you chose Emma. You chose her comfort over my effort. You chose her needs over my existence. That's not love. That's habit. The room was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking in the kitchen. I'm not here to ask for money, I said. I don't want the house or the cabin or the stocks. I don't want anything you have. I came here to tell you that I forgive you, not because you deserve it, because I deserve to be free. My mom reached for my hand. I let her take it. Her fingers were cold and bony. What can we do? She whispered. How do we fix this? You can't fix it, I said. The past is done, but you can change the future. You can call Mr. Archibald and change the will, not to give me half. To give me something, anything, $1, a photo album. A letter that says you see me, because right now the will says I don't exist. And that's what hurts most. Not the money, the erasure. My dad started crying then, not the quiet tears of a strong man. The loud, ugly sobs of someone who had just seen himself for the first time. I didn't know, he said. I didn't know you felt that way. I know, I said. That's the tragedy. You didn't bother to find out. I stayed for 2 hours. We didn't fix everything. You can't fix 32 years in one afternoon, but we talked, really talked, about the past, about the hurt, about the small moments that built the wall between us. My mom admitted something I had waited my whole life to hear. She said, I was harder on you because you reminded me of myself. I always felt invisible growing up. I was the one who helped while my sister got everything. And I swore I would never do that to my own daughters. But I did. I did it to you. I made you into me. I sat there, stunned. My mother had been the invisible daughter too, the helper, the forgotten one. And instead of breaking the cycle, she had repeated it with me while pouring all her unfinished love into Emma. My dad admitted something too. He said, I was afraid you didn't need me. Emma needed me all the time. She still does. But you were always so capable, so strong. I thought if I didn't have to worry about you, I could focus on her. But I see now that I wasn't focusing. I was hiding. And I admitted something too. I told them that I had spent 8 months building a life without them, and that life was good. Not perfect, but mine. And that I wasn't going to tear it down to be their caretaker again. My mom nodded. We don't want that, she said. We just want you in our lives, however you can be. I left as the sun was setting. My dad hugged me from his chair. It was awkward and painful and beautiful. My mom walked me to the door. She handed me an envelope. Open it when you get home, she said. I drove back to my apartment. I didn't open the envelope until I was sitting on my bed in my small room above the laundromat, surrounded by my herbs and my books and my quiet life. Inside was a handwritten letter. My mom's looping script. Posey, I have been a coward. I gave everything to Emma because I thought she would fall apart without it, but I never asked myself what you would fall apart without. The answer I see now is love. You fell apart without love, and I was too blind to see it. I am changing the will tomorrow, not because you asked, because you were right. You deserve to exist in writing. You deserve to be seen. I am so sorry it took me this long. Love, Mom. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it and put it in my drawer next to the first letter from Mr. Archibald, the letter that had ended one life and started another. The next week, Mr. Archibald called. The will was changed, not 50-50, not even close, but I was in it now, a small percentage, a recognition. My mom added a personal note to the legal document. To my daughter Posey, who taught me that love is not about who needs more, but about who shows up. You showed up every day, and I am forever grateful. It wasn't the money that made me cry, it was the words. After 32 years, someone had finally put it in writing. I existed. I mattered. Emma didn't take it well. She called me screaming. How could you do this? You already have a job, you already have your life, I have nothing now. Chad left. The kids are gone half the time, I have nothing. I let her scream. Then I said, Emma, you have the house, you have the lake cabin, you have the stocks and the bonds, you still have almost everything. I got a fraction. And you're angry about that? She went quiet. Then she said, it's not about the money, it's that they chose you for once. And there it was, the truth that had been hiding beneath all the fights and the tears. Emma wasn't angry about the inheritance. She was angry because the spotlight had shifted. For the first time, I was seen, and she was terrified that being seen meant being loved less. They didn't choose me over you, I said. They chose to stop pretending I didn't exist. That's not a competition, Emma, that's justice. She hung up. We didn't speak for a long time after that. Months passed. My dad's health got worse, then better, then worse again. Cancer is like that. It gives you hope just so it can take it away. I visited when I could. Not every day, not even every week, but I was there for the important moments. His 65th birthday, their 40th anniversary. A quiet Tuesday afternoon when he just wanted to watch baseball with someone who wouldn't ask him how he was feeling. My mom learned to hire help. It was hard for her at first. She had spent her whole life relying on me, and letting go of that reliance felt like admitting failure. But she did it. She found a young woman named Maria who came 3 times a week to clean, cook, and drive my dad to appointments. My mom paid her fairly, treated her kindly, and for the first time, understood what it meant to have a relationship that wasn't built on obligation. Emma fell apart for a while. Without Chad, without my parents' constant attention, she had to face herself for the first time. She went to therapy. She got a job, a small one at a daycare. She learned to budget. She learned to be alone. It was ugly and painful and necessary. And one day, about a year after everything changed, she called me, not to scream, to talk. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't know what you were going through. I was so busy with my own mess that I never saw yours. I accepted her apology. Not because I had forgotten. Because I had learned that holding onto anger was like carrying a backpack full of rocks. I could keep carrying it, or I could set it down and walk lighter. We are not best friends. We may never be. But we are sisters now in a way we never were before. Honest, careful, aware of the history between us. We have dinner together once a month, just the two of us, no parents, no kids. We talk about our lives. We laugh sometimes. We cry sometimes. And when we leave, we hug. It's not a fairy tale, it's real. My dad passed away 2 years after that first phone call about his cancer. I was there, not as a nurse. As a daughter, I held his hand. I told him I loved him. I forgave him again, out loud, so he could hear it before he went. He smiled. He said, "You were always the strong one, Posey. I just didn't know how to say it." After the funeral, my mom moved into the small condo. She sold the house and the cabin. She put most of the money into a trust for Emma's kids, but she also put a small amount into an account for me. For your future, she said. Whatever that looks like. I used that money to put a down payment on a small house, not a big one, a cozy one with a garden and a porch and room for herbs. I still work at the hospital. I still run in the mornings. I still go to therapy. I still have the letter from my mom in my drawer, next to the one from Mr. Archibald. Sometimes, late at night, I take them both out and read them. The first one, cold and legal, telling me I was nothing. The second one, warm and broken, telling me I was seen. They are bookends of my life, the before and the after. My mom and I have a strange relationship now. We don't pretend the past didn't happen. We don't sweep it under the rug. We talk about it, sometimes, when the mood strikes. She tells me about her own childhood, about being the invisible daughter. I tell her about the therapy, about learning to value myself. We are not mother and daughter in the way I always wanted, but we are something, and something is better than nothing. Emma is doing okay. The daycare job turned into a manager position. She's dating a nice man named Derek who works at a hardware store. He's not flashy like Chad. He's steady. He remembers her coffee order. He asks about her day. She's learning, slowly, that love doesn't have to be earned through neediness. Sometimes it just shows up. Her kids are growing up. They visit my mom on weekends. They call me Aunt Posy and ask me to teach them how to plant herbs. I show them the small garden on my porch, and I tell them stories about their grandfather. The good stories. The ones about his laugh, his terrible jokes, the way he could fix almost anything except his own heart. I think about that a lot. The things we can fix and the things we can't. I couldn't fix my parents. I couldn't fix Emma. I couldn't fix the years of neglect and unfairness, but I could fix myself, and I did. The lesson I learned is not a simple one. It's not revenge is bad or family is everything. It's messier than that. It's this: you can love someone and still walk away. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself. You can stop helping without becoming cruel. And you can build a life that belongs to you, even if the people who were supposed to build it with you left you behind. I learned that being the good daughter nearly destroyed me. I learned that saying no is not a sin. I learned that my worth was never in what I could do for others, but in who I was when I was alone. And I learned that the people who truly love you will not ask you to disappear. My name is Posy Morgan. I am 34 years old now. I have a small house, a garden, a good job, and a heart that is still learning how to beat for itself. My family is not what I wanted, but it is what I have. And for the first time, that is enough. If you are out there listening this and you feel like the Posy in your family, the one who gives and never receives, hear me. Stop. Just stop. Not to hurt them. To save you, take a breath. Take a step back. Take your life off the altar you've been sacrificing it on, and see what happens. The people who love you will figure it out. The people who don't will show you who they are. Either way, you win. Because you finally chose yourself. And that, more than any inheritance, is the real revenge.